Hi everyone and welcome back. As you can see, I have the Bucket List with an Artistic Twist book sitting here in front of me, and it has been quite a while since I've worked on this series, so I figured it was time to finally get back into it. And the destination that we are going to be working on today is going to be Hawaii. I just thought it would be the perfect location to work on with it being summer. And as you can see, I already have a sketch pre-drawn. And for those of you who are new, this spot right here is where I'll be putting a little pocket, which I do for every location, because if I ever do get to go there, I want to be able to have a spot to put any pictures for memories, which I always add at the very end. Anyways, I'm going to wait to work on all of this and start with the ukulele and work my way forward since it's supposed to be behind everything else. And I'm going to go ahead and make the ukulele pink because I want this page to be really fun and colorful. And this page is going to have a lot of blue since later on I will be painting a beach scene, so I really wanted to be able to bring in brighter colors to help break that up a little bit. And then I'll go in with a darker pink to add some hibiscus flowers for the design. Also, whenever I do these videos, I like to do some research on all the different locations, and I thought it would be fun to share some of those facts with you throughout the video. And if you're local from there, please feel free to let me know if Google lied to me, as I'm not trying to spread any false information. So if there's anything that you'd like to share with the rest of us, by all means, please feel free to do so down in the comments. Anyways, I recently learned that ukuleles originated in Hawaii back in the 1880s as a local adaptation to the machete, which is a small Portuguese guitar. And if you dive a little bit deeper into the history, it is said that there were 3 woodworkers that came from an island in Portugal called Maveda, or however you pronounce it. I probably just butchered that, so I apologize. Anyways, each of those men ended up opening their own shops in Honolulu, where they made instruments and were credited as the first ukulele makers. Also, the popularity of the instrument spread with the help of David Kalakaua, who was the last king of Hawaii and an early champion of the ukulele. So yeah, I also learned that the word ukulele roughly translates to the word jumping flea and is believed to be a playful nod to the quick bouncing movements of the player's fingers across the strings. Anyways, while I let this dry, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the aloha letters, and then I'll jump back to finish the ukulele later. So I really wanted to do an ombre effect with 3 different colors for the letters, but I'm so goofy because I should have started with the bluish green on the top and then yellow to orange, because orange and blue don't blend together very well, and I know that. I've made that mistake plenty of times, but here we are again. So it was a little more tricky getting everything to blend, but after a while I got it to a spot that I was okay with, and then I just finished adding the final details to the ukulele. And now I'm going to start painting the coconut, and I'm just going to apply a base layer of dark brown first, and while that dries, I'm going to go in with a grayish brown for the inside of the coconut, and then go over that with white, so that way it adds a little more detail to the inside. And the plan is to have this be one of those fancy coconut beverages and have it spilling over and turning into my ocean on the other page. So I'm going to start with a lighter blue coming out of the coconut and then darken it up as it moves into the ocean. And then I'll add a little straw and pineapple slice to it. By the way, another fun fact, despite the name, a coconut is not a nut. It is similar to a stone fruit, closely related to peaches and plums. And the name originated from the 16th century Portuguese sailors who thought that the 3 holes on the shells looked like a grinning monkey face or a skull, calling it cocoa. And what's great about them is that they are considered to be the tree of life, because every part of them can be utilized. So besides it providing food and water, the wood is also used in construction, the husks for biofuel and rope, and the leaves for thatch. And now that the coconut is dry, I'm going to go in with a mix of lighter and darker shades of brown and a little bit of raw sienna and just create a bunch of little strokes all over the coconut, and then use my white gel pen for the inside of the coconut to give it more details as well. And then add little tiny squiggly lines in random spots to create that furryish texture that coconuts have. And to create a juicy slice of pineapple, I just use a really light shade of orange for the shadows and a medium and light shade of yellow, and then go over that with my white gel pen. And honestly, it's really amazing how much adding highlights and shadows can really bring a piece together, because that straw was looking pretty flat until I added those highlights and especially the shadowing underneath it. Okay, now I'm going to start working on the sky for the ocean scene and then eventually paint a reflection in the water. But before I do that, I'm going to take some washi tape just to try to block off the other page so I don't accidentally ruin anything that I've already done. And I'm going to go in with different shades of pinks and oranges and blues and some white and blend those all together. And I accidentally made a mess on the side of my book, so I'm just going to try to clean that up the best that I can, so hopefully my pages don't stick together. Anyways, let's go ahead and get the sky blended. So normally I always take the colors that I use in the sky and flip it the opposite way to create a reflection in my water, but I went with a different technique this time, and I don't feel like it was going very well, so I'm just gonna have to go ahead and fast forward to me trying to cover it up a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry and fix it up a little bit later, but in the meantime, I'm gonna start adding some mountains to separate the sky and the water. Now I'm just painting a white base layer for where I'm going to put my sun, so that way I won't have to apply as many layers of yellow to cover up those pink undertones. And I'm also going to use some white to create highlight ripples within the water. Then I'm going to start adding some clouds to the sky, and to do that, I add a little bit of white, yellow, orange, and pink to a fan brush, and I kind of just start dabbing a cloud-like shape, and then when the clouds are a little bit dry, I take a blending brush and just blend it out a little bit towards the bottom. And for the sand, I go in with 3 different shades of brown, and I like to lay my middle shade down first and then start applying the lighter and darker shades, and then blend them together. And of course, I go in with that same darker shade to create some shadows. And then I use a small dry flat brush to dab on some extra texture for the sand. And then I do something similar to that for the mountains by just blending the different shades of browns. But I try to keep the mountains a little bit darker so it doesn't blend in too much with the sand. And for the grass, I just use a smaller blending brush and dab a few different shades of green together as well. And I really wasn't liking the blue mountains in the background, so I'm going over that with a darker brown, and then later on, when those dry, I'll end up going back over it with some lighter shades. And now that my sand is dry, I'm going to go in and apply a lighter blue and also a lot more white to create waves washing up onto the shore. And then I use a darker blue in a few spots just to give it a little bit more dimension. And you know, I always felt like I didn't really have a style per se, especially because I tend to bounce around from different kinds of styles and crafts. But I feel like the more I've been looking at my art lately, I've noticed that I tend to do a lot of art that's kind of mixed between impressionistic and realism. Like for example, I feel like my clouds look fairly realistic while my ocean looks really impressionistic. But yeah, anyways, I'm just going to finish up painting the last few items for the beach scene, and then I'll be able to start working on the hibiscus flower. Again, I'm going in with 3 different shades. I almost always use a dark, a medium, and a light shade for whatever color I'm using. And then I just blend them together And I pretty much just experiment with different brushes and just trying to paint in different directions until I get the look I'm going for. And for the flower, I'm going to quickly apply a base of white gesso because I'm going to be using yellows and oranges, and I really don't want to have to struggle with covering up some of that blue since the flowers are going to be sitting on top of that scene a little bit. Now that the gesso is dried, I'm going to use an angled flat brush, and I'm going to try to wiggle my wrist very loosely to create those ripples of the petals. And I'm mostly going to be making the petals yellow and then blend some light orange into it. And the reason why I want this flower to be mostly yellow is because the yellow hibiscus is the official state flower of Hawaii. And in Hawaiian tradition, it is said that tucking a flower behind the left ear means that a woman is taken, while the right ear indicates that she is single. All right, now while the flower dries, I'm going to go ahead and start working on this Hawaiian postcard pocket. So I applied gesso to the letters because as I was figuring out what colors I wanted to use, when I tried to blend them together, it was really ripping up the paper. So I wanted to see if the gesso would help with that. But spoiler, I ended up just going in with a solid color for the letters anyway, so kind of didn't matter. Also, for this pocket, I'm just going to keep it real simple and do a color block design. And for this, I'll be using my acrylic paint markers instead of painting it all, because with it being a more simple design, I really don't need to worry about going in with small detail brushes. So it's just a good relaxing way to finish up this piece. All right, now I just have to get it all cut out and glued into the book, but for you, I'm gonna go straight to the glamour shots. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'll be adding the full bucket list with an artistic twist playlist to the end of it for those who are interested. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!